Welcome to the latest TezTalks Live. We have a couple of pretty exciting demos that we'll be getting in today on Tezos domains. But joining us today is myself, William McKenzie of Tezos Commons. We have our other co-host, Ken Garofalo of Tezos Commons, Andrew Paulicek, and Miroslav Bodacek behind Tezos domains. Guys, how's everyone doing today?
Hi guys, doing great. Thanks for having us.
Hi guys.
Doing amazing, and way to go everyone for subscribing to Tezos Commons. We almost have 2,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, so go ahead and smash that like and subscription button. So guys, I want to just mention that we have a giveaway here for the audience. This is the same giveaway we do every episode of TezTalks. We will be giving away a Tezos engraved Ledger Nano S. You stay tuned. We're going to mention a keyword at the end of this episode. You'll enter that keyword into the YouTube chat, and a winner will be selected at random at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. So I guess we can start this off. We usually preface this by going a bit into each of your backgrounds and, what drew you to Tezos. So I guess we can go ahead and start off with you, Andrew. You can take it from here.
So hi again, everyone. My name is Andrew Paulicek. I'm the founder of Agile Ventures. I have been working in IT for more than 10 years now, and mainly as a software developer and architect. And we basically started with Tezos since the early AlphaNet days. First by being a baker with our Happy Tezos bakery, and then essentially we started also actively participating and developing infrastructure, helping out with the API ecosystem in Tezos by working on tezoslive.io, which exposes Tezos data through GraphQL and SignalR APIs. And then we started working on Tezos domains with the rest of the team. That's been going on for around 6 months ago.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Miro. I've been developing software for well over 10 years. A lot of those years were with Andrew, and with Tezos, I started, I think, early this year. And we pretty much early on, we kind of jumped into this project, and I've been on it since then.
So question for you guys. Really interesting that you've been here, Andrew. You said since AlphaNet experimenting and creating your own baker, a public baker, Happy Tezos. What was it that initially drew you in, Andrew and Miro, to the Tezos ecosystem? A question we like to ask all guests.
So for me, it was mainly the proposition of the ability of constantly changing and adapting, which compared to all the other blockchains that were available at the time was like something tremendous to have, because the ecosystem and the entire crypto landscape is ever changing, and the ability to have that like baked in the protocol itself, and also to have that on-chain governance, and to be able to vote on the next proposals and next projects, and what's basically Tezos going to look like in the future. That was for me like a good game changer, basically.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better than Andrew. I think I agree with every word. It's really nice to have this baked in the system itself. That idea that what we have now is not enough in next year and the year after, and we have to evolve the protocol and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the key characteristics of Tezos. And I think Arthur Brightman said it best, where he compared it to a river washing over a stone. Over many years, that stone will erode and change based on, the current of the river. And it's interesting, Andrew, that you also mentioned the on-chain governance aspect, which we'll probably have an exciting announcement later in this episode to get into in regards to Tezos domains and on-chain governance. So without further ado, we have some demos lined up for the audience today. Again, this is Tezos domains. And so why don't you guys take it away with that first demo, and we can show the audience exactly how they themselves can start registering domains in regards to their addresses on Tezos.
Sure thing. So let me just share my screen here. Cool. So basically what is Tezos domains? Tezos domains brings human readable names on Tezos network. And Tezos domains is a distributed, open, and extensible naming system using Tezos blockchain. where the main function is to translate a meaningful and user-friendly name to a Tezos address and vice versa. The important thing is to mention that this translation is globally consistent so that all participants on the blockchain can see the same address for a given alias or domain. So an example of one such domain is alice.tez. Alice registered the domain and then assign it the address of her personal wallet. And now when she sends money to Bob, he will see alice.tez in his wallet's received transactions, because Alice also set her reverse record mapping for her address that's basically tying her address back to the alice.tez domain. So this is very basic overview of what is this domain, and we would like to go ahead and jump into the demo first so you guys can have a better idea of what you can do with the dep. And we also have a sample level integration which we would like to show you. So this is a live demo, so fingers crossed that everything is going to work well. So this is our CartridgeNet release of Tezos domains dep. Let's just start by disconnecting the wallet. If you go to the address, and guys, whenever we share the link, all the links are available in the video description down below, so go ahead and check that out. If you go to the Tezos domains dep that's deployed on CartridgeNet, basically this is the main page that you will see, and you can start by looking at the recent activity, and if you want to do anything else, you basically need to connect your wallet. So let's go ahead and connect the wallet. This is the wallet that we are currently supporting. Basically, you can connect with Ledger natively. You don't need any Chrome extension for that. Or you can use any wallet that supports Beacon protocol, or you can go ahead and use Thanos. So for the purposes of this presentation, let's go with Thanos. Let's try. So here you need to confirm that which account you will use with this step. So let's just use this one. And this is the page where you can see that you don't basically have any domains registered yet. So it's again an overview where you can try and register your first domain here. But first, let's check this one, which is the important thing to note, that if you go ahead and use Thanos wallet, it's important to check that here in the Thanos settings, you have dApps section, and you need to have this one enabled. So it's crucial that you enable the dApps interaction, because otherwise our Tezos domains dApp cannot talk with the wallet and it won't work. So once this is enabled, you can just go ahead and start by typing your domain name that you would like to register. So let's go with TezTalks. Let's check if it's free. And yeah, this domain is available, so we can go ahead and start with the registration process. So we try to, what we try to do here is to have a fairly simple registration process. We start with the commit operation on chain. So this is everything that's happening is on chain on CartridgeNet. So you can see that the details of the operations are always available on the Thanos for you to confirm. Once you confirm the operation, you can also go ahead and check the stats for check the TZ stats for that operation. We can maybe look at one of the later steps. So just a couple of notes why the first step is commit. Basically, we are using commit reveal scheme here, which is important because it makes sure that nobody can front run you. So if you choose your domain and do the commit reveal and do this with the commit reveal scheme, we make sure that nobody can front run you even when the blocks are full, and it's going to be hard to get your operation in the first block that's going to be there. So once the commit and wait step are completed, you basically register your domain with this one, where you can choose the length of the registration period. So let's just go ahead and do 2 years, for example. So again, here you can see that the details of the operations that you're doing. Let's confirm that one.
So while we wait for confirmation, there are some quick points to touch on. So the domain that you're registering associated with the address is going to be publicly visible. So now instead of seeing a string for a wallet address, if someone sends or interacts with this wallet, they'll see the domain that's been registered, correct?
Indeed.
Excellent. And so the second question would be, we're talking about CarthageNet right here. This is a test net. So this is not actually the main net. So if someone wanted to, in this example here, you set for 2 years, you paid 20 XTZ, where would they obtain some testnet tokens to make that kind of payment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as all testnets, you basically need to create a wallet first, and either you can transfer funds from another wallet that has the testnet funds, or you can go ahead and use the faucet, which we can also link below the video for you guys to use, and it's going to be easier maybe. So yeah, that was a great comment. Okay, we're basically finished with the mandatory steps, and we have 2 more optional steps, but these are important because this is basically what's tying your address to, what's tying your domain to an address. So this is pre-filled with the address that you are using now, and is the same address that your wallet is that you have in your wallet. And you can use any other address that you want because the owner doesn't necessarily have to be the same address as the address that the domain is pointed to. But for now, let's just go ahead and use the owner address for this one. It's going to be easier.
So the owner address can be different than the one the domain is pointed to. Okay, great point.
Correct. Yeah, that's important to know. And
yeah, also, real quick, we have a question from the audience. Zed, he asked, when you're purchasing the domain length, whom are you actually paying to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Zed. So we wanted to touch on this point later on in the presentation, but basically all the funds are going to the smart contract at the moment, and we won't be doing anything with the smart contract. We will be trying to set up a DAO for this and on-chain treasury for Tezos domains. And this will allow us to have a governance, and then we can basically do like proposals how the funds will be used. I assume that the majority of the spending will be the development of Tezos domains, but essentially the community and the members of the DAO will be able to decide via on-chain governance how the funds will be spent. And it's also important to note that at the moment we are supported by Tezos Foundation. So this project actually we are able to work on it because Tezos Foundation gave us a grant.
Gotcha. Thanks.
So the final step here in the registration flow is the setting of a reverse record. This one is important because what it does is basically when you send somebody some test funds, some test tokens, let's say, they want to, if you want to be able to, for them to see your domain in the recent transactions, you need to have that reverse record. So basically the reverse record is the thing that's tying up your, or associating your address with your new domain. So let's just do that. Yeah. If we can. So again, this is a live demo, so some errors might be there, but hopefully we'll get there.
So what was that there, Andrew? It was a small error that popped up. You were able to just X out of it and then re-hit set?
Yeah, so we're using the latest version of the Thanos. Sometimes it happens that it either disconnects and then you need to reconnect the wallet, or the operation is not submitted properly and then you need to basically do the step again. But it shouldn't happen very often. From our testing, it's like 1 out of 100. So we did like 5 of these before the presentation and it didn't happen. So obviously it happens when you're presenting. And we are finished with the registration flow. We can go ahead and just check the other screen where you can manage your newly created domain. So you can see some basic information about the domain, who the owner is, when the domain is expiring, the address that the domain is pointed to. And we can go ahead and the reverse record as well, which is basically set to the same name and which is using the same address. You can also go ahead and edit the owner or the address here, or we can add subdomain. So let's just do great TezTalks.tez. And you don't have to put an address here right at the registration, because you can basically manage the subdomain in the same way as you're managing the domain itself. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to assign the address right away. You can just create as many subdomains as you want, and this is free because as you own the second level domain, you can just add as many subdomains as you want. So this might be a pretty cool use case for wallet providers, where I'm hoping they would be able to register their own second level domain. And then, for example, if they want to, they can essentially give everybody, like every single one of their clients or users that are using that wallet, a free third level Tezos domain, right? Cool. So we now have a domain, created domain, and third level subdomain as well. We can also go ahead and check the wallet integration, which we did with Kukai. This is just a sample integration. It's also only running on CartridgeNet at the moment. And what we did is basically we forked the Kukai source code and we integrated Tezos domains into it. So what we can do is just send one to, let's say, another address, which is andrew.tez. And you can see that the domain was resolved to an address. So every time you type in the domain, you should also be able to see which addresses it resolves to. So we will be publishing some UI guides for all the wallet integrations. So I think this is important that the user are still aware of what's going on in the background. And let me just paste the password here.
So quick question here. You've made a few transactions now with the Thanos wallet. I know we're in a test net here, but what would be the typical cost in gas if this were a mainnet transaction for executing all these registrations and sending the XTZ here in our example? I want to compare this to Ethereum's gas cost, because there's a stark difference here, where this is, probably less than a penny to make these transactions of what you're doing here. Comparably, Ethereum, this could be up to $10 per transaction, with current SV.
That's a very good point. The transaction fees are really minimal at the moment, at least compared to the Ether. It's a very good point.
We did some testing with Delphi, and basically it's a couple of cents when you translate it to US dollars. So it's really cheap.
So it's really interesting. And you just sent one Tez to andrew.tez. It was very simple. You didn't need to remember the whole string of the password of the public key in order to know who you're sending to. But it did give you a little reference to double check if you wanted to as well. So maybe, Andrew, if you could just give us, in your own words, what is the biggest benefit of having this in the ecosystem?
So from my point of view, it's mostly about ease of use. So it's much easier and comfortable to just type in 5 or 6 letter domain that you remember from your heart, or you don't have to copy paste the entire string and the entire address every time. If you're usually transacting with a couple of people, you basically, sooner or later, you're going to remember all the Tezos domains that you're transacting with. And then if the Tezos domains are short, then you're just going to type it in. You don't have to copy paste it. So I think the ease of use is the biggest benefit here.
So ease of use, and there are other comparable versions of this on Ethereum, and you do use this with the ease of use functionality, right? Okay.
Yeah, correct. So the important thing to note again is that in order for this to be really usable, we need to have a good adoption within Tezos ecosystem. So most wallets needs to support it at the time of mainnet launch, because the Tezos domains will only be valuable and useful if most of the wallets that supports Tezos will be supporting that. So you will be able to use it from your favorite wallet. And just to finish on the demo here, basically what we just did was to send some funds using the domain. And the other thing that we would like for the wallet to integrate is to have in the recent activity or in the transaction list to also show the domain names, not just the Tezos addresses. So here you can see that we did some transactions before, and it basically resolves with a reverse record to the subdomain here. So this is the main two things that we would like for the wallets to integrate. We're also going to be touching on a Tezos domain client and the npm packages that we did for to make the integration easier later in the presentation.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Andrew that what we are showing here is our own fork of Kukai. So this is something that we play around with internally. This is not the current Kukai version, and we are actually working with them and also other wallet providers with the integration.
Yeah, and actually speaking about wallet providers, someone asked a really good question. Citizen, is Magma going to come eventually?
Yeah, we're also in touch with Camel Case guys, and I think they said that they're going to integrate it or at least start looking into it in the next month or so. So they are really busy with launching of Dexter at the moment. But yeah, they are definitely one of the main wallets that we want to support. So
also wanted to add just one quick thing that the demo we just shown is it's a bit older version that we shown on CalculationNet. So a lot of these quirks have been already ironed out, and so we will also probably have another version later this week or the next week with new features and also a lot of bug fixes and so on.
So maybe this is a good time to call to the audience to help find these bugs as you guys rework this product and get it towards a mainnet launch. Currently, I think you guys have stats about 67 domains have been registered. This is a call to action to the audience. Everyone watching right now, Zed, Citizen, we know, Forasetti, we know you guys are watching. Why don't you go on here, register some domains to your address, and let's see if we can get that number over 100 by the end of today.
Okay, so now that we have a system in place that associates a domain name with addresses, we can also start using it for other data. So this can be interesting to projects or businesses that want to advertise their website, Twitter handle, or other contact information via their Tezos domains or the metadata that are going to be published on Tezos domains. And for example, private users can also use it to store avatars and that might be shown in Block Explorer's wallet and so on. So as we just saw on the demo, we support these three main wallets, and the link to the app is available under the video, so you guys can all check it out, create your own wallet, create your own Tezos domain and test it out. It would be great if everybody that's looking at the presentation at the moment, just go ahead and try it out. And now Miro will tell us a little bit more about what's behind all this and how our smart contracts are working.
All right, so let me quickly share the screen. All right, so we designed this thing to be open and extendable, and anyone who wants to integrate with it, who wants to use it, they are free to do so. So the smart contracts are deployed on CartageNet and DelphiNet at this time. These smart contracts basically allow you to register names and make changes to the domain. So everything we've seen on the dApp side, you can also do through the smart contract. There is some documentation already available. So if you're interested in integrating, definitely you can check out the links down below. You can integrate the smart contracts in other smart contracts or in wallets and dApps. It's very open. There is sort of a ownership scheme that we designed for this project. So what you can see here is that there is a top level domain, let's say section. So at this time, it's only the .tez is the only top level domain we have. And under that top level domain, a second level set of second level domains can be created. So this is something that the users will take ownership of once they register their domain. And once they own the second level domain, they actually can do whatever they want with the third level domains and below that. So once you own second level domain, you are free to do whatever you choose with that namespace under that. So if a wallet provider, for example, decides to have magma.tez and they decide to, let's say, we want to provide our users with free domains, they can do so. The users will use names like alice.magma.tez. The smart contract design is, we wanted to have something that's upgradable from the start. So we don't have the same kind of issues that some smart contracts have when there is, let's say, a bug in the smart contract, when there is a security issue. And generally, we want to have something that's kind of reflective of the fact that this is kind of a public infrastructure project. And when the needs come to change it, when we need to change the functionality or we need to hotfix something, we can. But still the developers can link to our set of proxy contracts, and these are contracts that are there to stay. They have fixed addresses, and whoever integrates with those contracts, they are there for good. So they can rely on these addresses to stay as they are, and rely on those to be stable in the future. So to make the integration easier, we create a client library that developers can use. For now it's in TypeScript or JavaScript, and we published the npm package or a couple of npm packages that other projects can integrate. So this library basically allows you to resolve domains. You can also modify existing domains. You can even register domains. So even if you, for example, wanted to create an alternative app that lets you register domains, you can do that. If you don't trust our implementation, you can always create your own. There is a link for where you can check out the documentation of that, and you can also check out samples. So on this sample, you can see how easy it is to resolve a domain to its address.
And it's important to note that this client library is just connected to Tezos node. So everything is resolving on-chain from the Tezos node directly through RPCs.
Exactly. So there is no trust involved. You are only trusting the Tezos node. There is another project, another component of the system that we have. It's an API that allows you to query information about the domain. So this is useful in cases where the data is not readily available just from the Tezos node itself. This might be, for example, when you're trying to list purchases for a given user, or if you want to filter domains by certain criteria and so on. It's based on GraphQL. There is pretty flexible query language, and this whole thing is backed by our own indexer that runs separately. But we invite anyone who wants to also run their own or run this on their own machine, for example. So there is also another. So there is no trust involved again. If they want to, anyone is free to run their own implementation of this. I will show a quick demo of this so that I can show you guys what the API is about. So let's say that I want to query for domains that I have. So this is a standard GraphQL interface. So let's say I want to query the domains. I will just ask for available items, and I will just ask for a name for each domain. I will ask who's the owner, and I can ask, for example, for the address. And if I run this, I can immediately see that there's a bunch of addresses, a bunch of domains with addresses, and they include the top level domains. I'm not really interested in those. So let's say that I want to limit this further. I want to say I'm only interested in second level domains here. And if I run those, I will only get those second level domains here. You can also see that some addresses are not filled. For example, we saw that in the registration process that address is optional step. And if you skip that, you can actually have a null address here. You can actually do a lot more with those criteria. So for example, one thing I can do is ask for a specific domain, and then I can ask for the subdomains that belong to the domain. So let's say that I'm looking for subdomains under evening.ts here. If I run this, I will see that there are two subdomains, good evening.ts and lovely evening.ts. Another example I have here is the ability to query for purchases. So let's say I'm interested in all purchases. I want to see the buyer and the domain name and so on. So if I run this query again, I can see that this address purchased some domain name, and I can see what type of purchase that was. The purchases can be either buys or they can be renewals. And this will later be extended as we build the auction system as well. Yeah, and that's pretty much for the demo.
So an example of why someone would want to access that API, would it be, I'm just throwing something random out there, maybe they're monitoring when a certain registration is up for renewal and they want to come in and buy, right? So they can monitor here when the timestamp was. How about you throw out some more examples?
Yeah, so that's a good example of the usage of this API. Another good usage might be that people want to, let's say there's going to be an auction system later on that we are building right now. So you can use the API to build your own auction client, and you can allow some richer experience. You can allow better management of that auction system, and you can basically extend our own work and build upon that as well.
So that's actually a great point you make there, Miro. Sorry, Andrew, for interrupting, but so what you're saying is a third party could come in and set up some sort of auction platform to register these domains and make profit, so to say. So a business opportunity for someone.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an option. I mean, people could even create their own registration flows that are better than our own. They could even add a markup on our prices. That's not a problem. So if somebody has a better marketing than us, then they can always come in and get part of that pie, so to speak. And this is just one example how this could be integrated.
But it's a really good point that you basically try to build the entire system or set of components so it's open and extensible. And it's important to know that everything is is open source and under MIT license. So everybody can just go ahead and use parts of it or use everything that we have or built on top of it, as Miro mentioned. So yeah,
Exactly.
looking to get as many integrations as possible.
Yeah, that's
Right.
really nice to know that you guys maintain the open license there and allow others to come in and build on what you have laid as a foundation, but you're also still moving the project forward yourself. Maybe this is a good time. We have some questions from the audience asking when this will be live on mainnet.
That's a good question. Actually, it's coming in the next slide, but I can already tell you that the roadmap right now, or the plans that we are looking for, is launching this in Q1 2021. So probably in, let's say, February. Obviously, we cannot give hard promises, but this is something that we would like to meet. All right, if there are no more questions, I can just jump to the roadmap that we are looking at. So as we touched on before, we want to build an auction system. The main reason for that is it just allows the whole system to be much fairer. One thing that we didn't want to do is to do like a naive implementation where everyone can register at the same time at the time of the launch of the service, which would basically mean that people who are able to write bots, who are like able to jump in front of other people in the transaction list, they could basically take all the, let's say, good domains, and that system wouldn't be really fair. So the auction system that we are looking for is something that's based on the open auction system. So that's like English auction, I think it's called. It's basically what we know from most marketplaces. So where you can see other people's bids, and you can also place your own bid as long as it's higher than the last accepted bid. So there is some caveats to that. So for example, we don't really want people to be bidding like 0.0001 Tezos more than the last person. So there's going to be some limits to what you can do here. And in order for this auction to finish at some point, we have to like have some sort of exponential growth of the bid price. So let's say that you're at the beginning of the auction, you just increase by 1 Tezos, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4. These would be the bids that you can individual people could place. But once the bid reaches, let's say, 1,000 Tezos, we want the people to bid. The next bid should be, for example, 1,100 Tezos. Otherwise, the problem that would arise is that this auction could just run forever, because we are as we are extending the auction deadline every time someone bids. If it's close to that auction deadline already, we kind of extend the window for that auction a little bit more to allow other people to, again, have fairness in the and fairly bid on the domain they are interested in. So we also need this kind of thing to basically have a finite date when the auction ends. So that's one thing, the auction system. Then wallet and dApp integrations, they're an integral part of the adoption for the adoption of the Tezos domains in the ecosystem. So we are looking to integrate with all the major wallets that are available. And we are pretty much talking to all of these wallet providers at this time. Another thing that we kind of want to have, and we are kind of in process of designing, is a sunrise period where well-known entities in the community, like bakers, wallet providers, and so on, they could register early and get their domains, claim their domains. And what we want to avoid is name squatting and kind of general confusion about who the owner of certain domain is, especially if it's a name that's well known in the community. So this is something that we are definitely looking for.
You mentioned domain squatting, and I think that's a big concern here. I think we had a few questions even in the chat about domain squatting. Is this something that we saw occur on Ethereum's ENS? And you guys now see that as an issue, so you're putting parameters in place to avoid this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think if you look at what domains are being reserved or registered at the moment on ENS, there's a very big portion of these that are tied to copyright names or reserved names, such as Google, Apple, Coca-Cola, etc. So we're also thinking about having some kind of a reserved name checklist or like a verification flow, but yeah, it's not finalized on our side yet, and it's part of what we're gonna do in Q4 this year.
Mm. It's kind of it's a bit hard to design this because on one side we wanted to build this as a decentralized, trustless system, and on the other side, it's also we see it as public infrastructure project where the public has to have some sort of there are some needs that we need to balance here. So we are definitely looking at these options, but I think there's nothing is set in stone yet.
All right, guys, I'm just going to take a moment. I'm going to pause our questions here, and I'm going to give the keyword to the audience for the raffle of the Ledger Nano S Tezos branded. So if you're in the YouTube chat, you want to enter this here. It is !, capital T, E, Z, O, S, capital D, O, M, A, I, N, S. That's ! Tezos domains with a capital T and a capital D. Again, you want to enter that into the YouTube chat, and our Nightbot will randomly select a winner, and we'll reach out to you in just a few minutes to announce who that winner is. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Go right ahead, back to the presentation and questions.
No worries. I'm gonna briefly go through that roadmap so we can also see what's on the plate for the 2021. So as we mentioned, the mainnet launch is kind of let's say planned for Q1. We are also looking at something that we definitely want to integrate is having Tezos domains as NFTs according to the FA2 standard. So this is something that also would be pretty interesting for all of users to be able to trade domains in existing marketplaces or future marketplaces as they can trade any other tokens. Yeah, and we also mentioned the on-chain treasury and the DAO, and also looking at implementing the TZIP16, which is a metadata standard, and the DID standard, which stands for decentralized identifiers. Another thing that we want to do next year is build our website, the actual website where people can find information, and probably it's going to be the website that will pop up in the Google when you search for those domains. This is just a quick sneak peek of that website. And there is a lot of future ideas that we have for beyond the roadmap that I mentioned. One is DNS integration. We are thinking about allowing owners of existing DNS domains to claim their ownership on those domains as well. So for example, if a business, if a company like Google already owns google.com, we could make it really easy for them to translate their ownership to Tezos domains as well. So this could really ease the integration or ease the headache for these companies, so they can keep their brand and they can come to the Tezos domains namespace without worrying about squatting, without worrying about people infringing on their trademarks. So if somebody owns alice.com, they would just get alice.com on Tezos domains as well. One other thing that we definitely wanted to do is have support for international names. So for example, names from Chinese alphabets or any other alphabets that are not currently supported. This is something that we integrated in the design already. So it's something that we are planning to have, but it's not there yet. But as I said, we wanted to have it at some point. And yeah, another one is Oracle-based stable pricing, so that the price will stay. Let's say we have price $5 US, and we want to keep the same price, no matter the rate of Tezos to US dollar, based on Oracle providing these rates.
So I love how the TezTalks series has evolved to the point where we're featuring guests every week that the next guest the week after uses the product they've created. So we've already seen Beacon Wallet here. We're looking at Oracle. So I'm assuming this is Harbinger, right?
Yeah.
And to even that's just amazing to me. And everyone that's watching, you can go back and watch previous episodes as well on the Tezos Commons YouTube channel. However, I want to go back and ask a question about the NFTs that are going to be associated with the domains. And then you said that there could be actually a secondary marketplace where you could trade these NFTs. That actually provides more liquidity to what we term online real estate, which is, domains in general. So maybe just another comment on that, how you guys envision that, maybe just, if you're going to make that marketplace yourselves, again, maybe an ETA for when that will be released.
So I'm hoping that the marketplace will be ready and up and running, and it's going to have to be done somebody else than us because we're going to be busy with Tezos domains. And so ideally, would be nice if, for example, OpenSea supports FA2 standard right out of the bat, and people who are used to bid on OpenSea would be able to trade their NFTs based on the FA2 standard there as well. If that's not going to happen, I think it's like one of the projects that needs to be built on Tezos natively, and it's definitely going to be something that some developer team will pick. So I'm hoping to see that like Q2 next year, because it's not something that is easily missed, and I think we need something like that.
Yeah, and in regards to DIDs, are you guys going to be working with Spruce Systems for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Indeed. And I think it's important to note that it's very hard to estimate how the beyond 2021 will look like. If you look back 1 year ago, what was available on Tezos and how the ecosystem looks at the moment, it's like two completely different things. So as Kenneth mentioned a couple minutes ago, Harbinger was just released, Beacon was just released. So most of the stuff that we are building on and that helped us a lot when we were implementing Tezos domains, they weren't even available 6 months ago. So it's very hard for us to estimate what are we going to be doing in 12 months, 18 months, because we don't know how the Tezos landscape will look like.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's constant evolution. And, as the foundation gets laid, there are more opportunities that can be built on top of that. So we do have a winner from the giveaway here, the Ledger Nano S Tezos engraved. Will, do you want to go ahead and announce who the lucky winner is for today?
Sure. So it looks like the winner is Plavy989. Plavy, you're going to need to take a screenshot of your YouTube credentials and send an email over to social@tezoscommons.org.
Excellent. And congratulations. That's, huge value. I'm just so pleased that we at TezTalks and Tezos Commons are able to give away a Ledger Nano S during every episode of TezTalks. So for all of you that didn't win, be sure to tune into next week's episode. We'll have the same giveaway going forward. So great opportunity there to earn yourself a Ledger Nano S. And so getting back into the questions, guys, I actually, there was a cool story associated with the domain itself, Tezos.domains, which is what you guys are currently using for the interface for your site. How did you go about obtaining that? I know there's a really cool story behind it.
So we were at the beginning of analysis phase where we were in touch with multiple people from the Tezos ecosystem, and one of the calls we had was with Jonas. So he offered generously to donate Tezos domains domain to us and for the project. And the previous one was tns.domains. It was also good, but not as good. So thanks, Jonas, if you're watching, thank you. And we would also like to thank, of course, Tezos Foundation for supporting us in this project. And who else? ECAD Labs, because we built on top of Taquito, and Papers, because we used Beacon, Medfish, we integrated with Thanos Wallet, and Obsidian for the ledger integration. So we were able to leverage a lot of things that is now available on Tezos.
Yeah, I want to also extend our thanks to the Truffle guys for adding Tezos to their support, supporting Tezos in Truffle, because it was really, really useful to us as we were developing this.
And last thing I just want to say, if you're watching, please check the links under the video. Go ahead and register your domain. It's going to be awesome to try, and I think you'll like it. I hope you will like it. And we will also pick like 5 domains from CartridgeNet and just grant it on the mainnet. So if you are one of the lucky winners, we will get back to you.
So not all domains registered in CartridgeNet will transfer over to mainnet. There will be some sort of a reset, but you're doing a swap over to 5 lucky randomized selectees. So go ahead and register as many domains as you can, guys, right now, because there's a chance those will carry over to mainnet.
Yeah, please no swear words. Otherwise, feel free.
We want to see over 100 registered by the end of today. So you guys got some work out there, audience. So I wanted to get into, you mentioned this briefly, the proceeds generated from all transactions and sales will be going into a DAO with on-chain governance. This is a really important aspect because it hits the ethos of the Tezos community in general with on-chain governance. So do you guys want to touch on that a little bit more about what you have planned for the future?
Yeah. So one thing that we wanted to make sure is that we are not touching the proceeds bucket unless we have a really good system in place. We can see the usage of those funds for stuff like further developing this project, also funding integration with other software projects, with wallets and so on. And there is a lot of things this could be really useful for. And if there is, even then, if there is an overflow of proceeds, we can always just basically fund projects that are just related to the Tezos ecosystem as a whole. So I don't think there is a shortage of uses for this. But as we said, like we really right now we are just basically saying this money won't be touched until we really have a solid system in place.
What about an audit? Are you planning to get an audit for the smart contracts?
Yeah, we are looking at it, and we would like to get it done if it's possible from the timeline point of view before the mainnet launch, obviously. With the current status of DeFi on Ether, I've heard that it's not so easy to get a slot with the audit firms. So yeah, but we're looking into it.
Excellent, guys. Well, I don't think we have any more questions from the audience. And did you guys have any more final points you want to make before we wrap? Any closing statements or anything? I know we touched on a lot today. There's been a lot of new information given to us, and this Tezos.domains has been introduced to the entire community in full here with the demos that you guys provided. You've done a great job explaining exactly how a user or a developer can get involved with this product that you've created here. So to reach out to you guys, if anyone has questions, you can reach out on Twitter. It's at Tezos Domains. And then the Telegram as well is t.me/TNS domains. And you guys are pretty active on both the Twitter and the Telegram. So again, if anyone has any questions, reach out to those guys there. Anything else, guys? Will, do you have anything else?
No, just come check it out. You can test it, you can use it, you can try everything you want to try, and just let us know, give us feedback. That's the most valuable thing we can get out of this, so we can improve further.
Excellent,
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. And for everyone watching, if you want more information on Tezos Commons and TezTalks, you can go to tezoscommons.org/TezTalks for a list of our upcoming guests. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Tezos Commons, and make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at Tezos Commons. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrew and Miro. For William McKenzie, I am Ken Garofalo. Until next time, take care.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.